welcome everybody. This is Connect, and I'm Tom Bond. I'm substituting for Pastor Jeffrey Peterson today. Pastor Jeffrey is on a mission trip out of the country, and we're so thankful for him and for what he does and the opportunities that he has to travel and to spread God's word in a lot of different places. You're welcome to join us and for Connect, and you know this is the program that we talk about with real people, real stories about a real God. And that's our purpose and our reason for being here is to share God's word with you, all of our viewers, and to let you meet people that are doing interesting things in ministry all around the country. And we have with us today a special guest. Her name is Wanda Hanssen, and she's from Peoria, Illinois. And we welcome you here today, and thank you for coming.
My pleasure.
And tell us a little bit about yourself. We want to know all about you. I noticed that you grew up in South Africa, which is kind of unusual for us here in the Midwest to get someone from South Africa on our program. We are pleased to have you here. Tell us about growing up there.
Well, I grew up in Pretoria, South Africa. I always say that little song, "We are marching to Pretoria. Now I live in Peoria." So anyway, yeah, I grew up there and then, of course, graduated from high school. My father died when I was going into my senior year at high school. But then I went to university in the southernmost tip of the continent of Africa near Cape Town, a beautiful Table Mountain.
Beautiful place.
I went to university in a university town similar to Heidelberg in Germany called Stellenbosch. And I did a study in dietetics. I did a BSc, Bachelor of Science in Dietetics.
So you were a dietitian at one time. Spent some time doing that.
And I loved my studies. I enjoyed what I was doing. In my second year, I was chosen to be what is there called Miss Martyland, similar to, I suppose, Miss Iowa or Miss Illinois in that category. And that was a very exciting and fun time.
And I understand you became a model as a result of that, I'm sure.
Well, not exactly as a result of that. It was as a result of practicing as a dietitian. Once I graduated, I went back to Pretoria and worked as a dietitian in one of the big state hospitals. And while I was doing that, one of the other dietitians said, "Wanda, why don't you do this course in modeling? It's so fun, you know, you learn how to sit and stand and makeup and clothes. And if you're any good, they'll ask you to do fashion shows, and they pay very well." And so that's what I did. And then just another little God incident, the day that we got our certificates as models, they had the audition for the biggest show in the country that same day in Johannesburg. And the director said, "Why don't you girls go and see what the professionals do? You're all dressed up and nowhere else to go." And so we did. And I signed in, and we all stood around and we looked at these gorgeous girls. And my turn came, and I walked in and did a little pirouette and whatnot. And lo and behold, I was chosen to be one of the top 10. And so my life just totally changed.
So you were no longer a dietitian?
I did it for about 6 months more, but it was just too hectic. My whole career was overshadowed by professional modeling. And so I did that and traveled overseas a bit and so on. And it was just an amazing lifestyle.
I'm sure.
But, you know, I always had that something there that this is such a lot of glitz and glamour and money and everything. And yet it wasn't totally fulfilling. I mean, I enjoyed it. I had lots of fun.
It must have been an exciting lifestyle at a young age and being able to travel. It was.
I mean, when you meet such interesting people and see places and go on cruises and advertise things, you know, and it's just an amazing lifestyle. And as I say, they pay extremely well. And you wonder why, because, I mean, you're not really doing something major.
Right.
But I had met Pete, who eventually became my husband. So it was a long-term relationship, and I think his family also must have thought you out of your mind. because he was a wildlife management consultant, an agricultural economist in Namibia, and I was as far away from the land, if you want to say agriculture, as possible.
Right. But now you have moved to
Namibia. And a city called Windhoek.
And the country is just north of South Africa.
Right on the border,
right
sort of like Canada, right on the border. And again, we had a great life, and he had a small plane because he consulted various ranchers around the country, various farmers. It's sort of similar, I suppose, like Texas or Arizona. The ranchers or farmers are big.
Big.
And so he'd fly here and there and visit them. But of course, we used the plane over weekends to do various fun trips and go places and so on.
So were you modeling during this time also?
A little, but you know, it's not a big city. And so there was a little bit of modeling to do, but not really very much. And but we traveled a lot. You know, we would go to the Far East or go, you know, lots of fun trips and stuff just to...
Sure.
Living the life.
So you're living the good life.
Living the good life, I thought, yeah.
Yeah, you thought.
Because even though we had a holiday house or a vacation house, as they call it here at the coast, which we would go once a year or flit down for weekends and so on, you know, we had 2 little boys by then.
Right.
And I remember clearly, too, walking on the beach, and my husband had dived and got crayfish, as we call it, similar to lobster here. And we would cook it up and just have, you know, it was just so great. And yet I often thought, is this
all there is?
Is this? I mean, how much more can you want?
Right.
You know, I had more.
But it wasn't satisfying, apparently.
No.
No. And during this period of time and living there, you accepted Christ.
Yes, we had we didn't often go to church. We were just too busy in the social life and the day after, the night before. But I guess one Sunday we weren't entertaining or going somewhere, and we decided, well, we might as well go to church. And just, I don't know what made us think that, but obviously.
The Holy Spirit.
Absolutely.
You're never there by mistake.
No. And we went to church that Sunday. Gosh, it was just what the minister said was so astounding to me, because I grew up in the church. I was confirmed. I knew the Bible stories, you know. So I thought I was a Christian. And the minister said that day, it's not good enough to believe that the Bible is the Word of God. And I thought, what? He said, it's not good enough to believe that Jesus, God, the God-man, died on the cross to pay the penalty for your sin.
Right.
And that he was buried and rose again on the 3rd day. And I thought, how can you say that? Because that's all true. I mean, I believe that.
Yes.
He said, unless you personally invite Jesus Christ into your life and into your heart and into your being, you won't know what life is all about. You won't know where you're going to go one day, and you won't enjoy life now, because Jesus said, I have come to give you life, and abundantly.
I am the way,
the truth and the life.
Right.
No one comes to the Father except through me. And I realized all the wonderful things we'd been doing, and all the jewelry and all the this and the furs and the trips and all these things, just that wasn't it. Because ultimate satisfaction doesn't come from the good things in life. Right. I mean, there's nothing wrong with all these things.
Right.
But ultimate satisfaction only comes from Jesus Christ.
Yes.
So yeah, that
so
was...
So you met Christ there. Was this over a period of time, or did you immediately...
No, just that one Sunday at church.
One Sunday at church.
I realized this is it. But in the meantime, some American people... Now, we traveled a lot of places in the world, but we never came to America. We had met an attorney and some other people that came over to Namibia and South Africa. They were involved here in Peoria, Illinois, with the Forest Park Foundation. And they were developing the Wildlife Prairie Park outside of Peoria. So they were traveling around the world and going to game parks and stuff like that, and amongst others to Namibia, which, you know, Etosha Pan, and of course Kruger National Park in South Africa. and met Pete, never by accident, but anyway, and he showed him what they were doing there with the game and with, you know, what have you. And 6 months later, after they went back to this, came back here to the States, they sent us 2 tickets and said, well, come and visit us. And we thought, well, why not? And so that's how we came that July.
Right.
We came over for 6 weeks, mind you. Traveled around, did all the touristy things and stuff also. And then they offered Pete the position to come and consult for the Wildlife Prairie Park outside of Peoria.
So that was the impetus for your immigration to the United States.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we went back that July, and excited as can be, we're coming to America. And
I've never had an opportunity to ask someone who lived in another country why the coming to America was such a big thing. Why was it such an exciting thing?
You know, I think it was just probably the thought. We were young, and it was an adventure, and I guess I was just also brand new in the faith.
Right.
But it just maybe, like my past life, it was something new and something different to do.
Right.
And of course, my husband, you know, wasn't a Christian, didn't know anything at the time. So I think it was just the excitement of going somewhere new.
Yeah. And your first home in America was in Peoria.
In Peoria, and the first home we moved into, actually that's a different story too. We came over and we left, as I say, January from South Africa, and it's like 85, 90 degrees, hot and so on, and we arrived here. I mean, it was the worst winter the States had had in 50 years. O'Hare was closed that day. Oh. So they rerouted us via Champaign. And we finally got to Peoria, and the chill factor was minus 65. Wow. I mean, it was freezing cold.
Hey, I know that experience. I moved here from Alabama. So
oh, yes, there you go.
It was a horrible winter, that first one we were here. So it is a shock to your system if you've been used to a warmer climate and you come here.
My goodness. So
but I've been here 35 years, so it didn't deter me.
No, no, you're right, and we've never regretted it.
No, not at all. Well,
but yeah, it was quite, and of course, you know, where do we stay now? So we stayed for the first week with a couple that we just met 6 months before, because they were remodeling an old farmhouse in the country for us. And with the bad weather conditions and everything, it was nowhere near done. And of course, just the thought of an old farmhouse in the country. I had always lived in the city. Now, my husband was, you know, had done a lot of country living and work, and had a beautiful mansion and servants and everything in South Africa. So anyway, here is this little farmhouse in the country, and well, that we eventually had to, you know, move in there. You can't stay with people for weeks
forever.
On end, and cabin fever, and it's minus 5 and minus 10. So we moved into this little house. It was nowhere near completed. We just had one room with the bunk beds, and my husband and I and our 7 suitcases. And every day the workers are there, and the plumbers and the electricians and the carpenters, and so it was a very interesting experience. And of course, you know, then we couldn't hang around the house. There was no furniture or anything, so we'd have to go somewhere. And the roads were all icy, and I think the most amazing thing is that we had to drive on ice and on the wrong side of the road.
Quite a shock.
So it was a shock, but you know.
So there were many ups and downs in the process of immigrating to the United States and getting accustomed to the weather changes and a new place to live. And
the easiest part was when we arrived at New York. Of course, we got our green cards at the time. Was green cards, so that the immigration part was the only easy part, really. But you know, even with all those difficulties and what have you, it was. I just had a song in my heart. I just knew God knew where I was,
right,
and He knew what was going on, and that, you know,
He planned it, and He placed you there. So He's in complete control and in complete charge of our lives. And
it was so amazing. He brought how He brought people into our lives. news got around that I'd done modeling and so on, and of course Peoria is not that big of a city either, but still. So I did a few style shows there, and during one for the Symphony Guild, afterwards a lady came up to me and she was so chic and looked so elegant, stepped out of vogue, and she came up and spoke to me and said hello and so on, and that was it. So I just thought, that's a sharp lady, I'd like to get to know her or whatever. But anyway, that was the end of it. And that Sunday, we were invited by other friends to go to church. And it was amazing. Now I was excited on Sundays to go to church. It wasn't like you were looking for something to do so you don't go or whatever. And we went to a very big church that Sunday morning, and the pastor said, will the guests please stand? So we did, and just about from here to, maybe not 10, 15 yards, there was this very elegant, stepped out of vogue lady, and of course she waved to me, and I waved to her. And after the church service in the narthex, the foyer, there she was, and she came up to me, and so the Lord just brought people into my life, and she invited me to come to a Bible study and to a brunch, a Peoria Women's Connection brunch, and so that's how my walk with the Lord kind of grew.
Good. But Pete wasn't a Christian at this time.
No.
How did that come about?
So he would come most Sundays, not every Sunday, because he was often working on the farmhouse, trying to get it more livable. But he would come most Sundays, and one Sunday the minister said, well, it's communion now, and so this is the Lord's table. It doesn't belong to this specific church or denomination. And if you've received Christ as your Savior, made peace with God, by all means, freely partake. But if you haven't, this is maybe an opportunity for you to thank the Lord that He died on the cross for your sins, come into your life, receive His forgiveness, and then freely partake the remembrance of what He did for you on the cross. And so he did that Sunday.
Wonderful.
And the little boys, of course, I had to lug them everywhere I went for Bible studies in the summer because schools were out. And the youngest one, Vern, one day at a Bible study, a women's Bible study, mind you, they had to then play in the lounge with their little cars and puzzles and stuff. When the lady that was guiding the Bible study said, well, if you want to make sure you're going to heaven one day, right now, just ask Jesus to come into your life and into your heart. Thank Him for making a way, for dying for your sins, paying the penalty. And I think he was 7 or 8, I don't know. I don't know how, can't remember, it's too long ago. He did that.
Wonderful.
And the other boy, Dale, he received Christ as his Savior at a Sunday school class, probably more or less all that same time.
Well, that's a wonderful story.
That's
wonderful
how the
family.
Lord looked in our lives.
God takes care of us and moves us and puts us in the right place and brings people into our lives that influence us in so many different ways.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. I mean, even through the hardships, because then, funnily enough, these people that we stayed with that very first week, his hobby was beekeeping. I mean, for goodness sake, what a hobby. And he bought 250 beehives and had them trucked out to our farmhouse in the country. And he said to Pete, now you run this operation and sell the honey and then we'll split the profits.
Wow.
Well, I thought that was the dumbest idea I'd ever heard. But that's what happened. And so that developed. And then in the fall, you know, before it got too cold, the 250 hives would go to Florida on the semis for the winter, like snowbirds. And they would split them once they were there, of course, make orange blossom honey. And then 500 colonies would come back, and we would be busy all summer then extracting the honey, and I would go to the farmer's market and sell honey, and to the different grocery stores and sell the honey. But I'll tell you this much, I didn't like it.
You didn't?
I hated it, as a matter of fact.
Hated
the
work?
The work and the stickiness and then the messiness and lugging the boxes around and everything. And I remember sitting in front of one of the tanks one day too, just crying out to the Lord and saying, God, I just hate this, Lord. I can't stand this. did you forget I was a top model? As if he did. And I remember...
He was making you humble.
Exactly. And
Bringing you back to reality.
Oh, gosh. And I said, Lord, you'll have to change me or let the bees die. Well, they didn't die.
They didn't die.
And I got up, dried up my tears, and I went on. And I can honestly say, I don't know if it was a week or a month or 6 months, but there came a time that I remember specifically a day I walked into the house and I said, Pete, you won't believe how much honey I sold today. And I got a new customer and I was all excited about it.
Right.
So, he changed me.
Yes.
We just need to give him the reins of our lives and say, Lord, and be honest, he knows.
Right.
I hate this, I can't stand it, or whatever. You work in my life, you changed me.
And he changed you.
And he did.
And you accepted it. And
he did. I mean,
and
the joy of then, and excited about, things, same thing, but
yeah.
I just had a change of heart because he did that.
And that then went over into a baking of bread
Yes.
business that grew out of that.
I was no baker. I mean, as you said, I grew up with servants and really was not very domesticated. But of course, once we came here, I had to learn to cook.
Had to learn.
I always say Betty Crocker became my best friend. But I started making whole grain breads and stuff like that, selling it at the farmer's market in the summertime. And lo and behold, the people loved it.
Yes, I'm sure.
And then one of the, it was right then where there was a long strip mall and we had the farmer's market out there. And another thing, I'd eventually end up baking probably 50 loaves from, the whole week I'd bake for the market. And it never, in those 5 years that we had the market, it never rained on that Saturday. I mean, only God could do. I mean, sometimes at 1:30 it would pour after I'd sold almost all the breads anyway. But in any case, and so the owner of that mall came up to me and said one day, we need a bakery here in this shopping strip. And I said, this is all I can make. I can't make chocolate chip cookies or brownies or cakes or anything. And he said, I'll put you in touch with another person that does cakes and cheesecakes and weddings and stuff like that. And so that's how we started the bakery.
So from bees and honey and into bread and doing all of those kind of things, and your walk with Christ continued along during this period of time, and God was leading you by the hand, and now as you come to us, you are a speaker for Stonecroft, which is an organization that ministers to women all over the world. All over the world. And you are here representing God, speaking to ladies at a Stonecroft meeting. It's a wonderful story and a wonderful testimony. When you speak to these ladies, what is your message? What do you like them to go home remembering?
That God loves them.
Absolutely.
And He's interested in every detail of their lives. There is nothing that you can't pray about. I mean, whether you go shopping, whether it's, a financial issue, a relational issue, a health issue. I mean, we prayed, Lord, give us favor with the bank, because we had to buy out the partner then.
Right.
And what did we have? Very little.
Right.
And He gave us the loan. Now you pray about everything.
Right.
And I think if women just realize, people just realize, that God delights in it when we come to Him. He knows our heart. We need to be honest and open with Him. I mean, why fake it? He made us. He knows us.
He knows us intimately.
Completely. And I think just to know Him and to get to know Him better every day, and to just yield every day to Him, say, Lord, I want to live for You. Just show me.
Right.
Help me. I'm useless without You, because He knows. And He loves it when we just tell Him how dependent we are on Him. And just recklessly abandon your life to Him. He knows best.
As you travel around and meet with these groups of women, are you encouraged about the future as far as their relationships with God and their expectations of what God is all about and what He does.
Yes,
for
I
them.
am. And with the different groups you meet and see how they get encouraged and how they really love the Lord once they've made that decision. For some, I think it's harder. Their foot is a little bit in the world still, and they're still thinking maybe that could still satisfy, or they afraid to let go. But God is so good. But I do think that there's a lot of growth, there's a lot of Christian growth. I think people are just really seeing that the world doesn't satisfy. No amount of anything, fame, money, power can satisfy. And I think when they realize there is somebody, not something, somebody that
cares
is
about them.
desperate for them to yield their lives to Him.
Right.
And spend that time with Him. Even if you don't feel like spending time with the Lord in the morning or don't feel like reading the Bible, you need to do that. And I mean, one thing I try and make clear to all the women, whether it's in our Bible study groups or with the young women that we work with or young couples, is that Ephesians 6:10, putting on the armor of God. It's like every day you put on deodorant. I mean, I hope so.
Yeah.
You have to. I mean, it's a little silly illustration, but still, it is so imperative. Put on the armor of God, like Ephesians 6:10 onwards say. You've got to be dressed. You're going out. Every day there's a battle for your soul. And you can never lose it once you've accepted Jesus Christ, but you can be miserable.
You can.
If you don't yield and live out and out for the Lord.
Yeah. The Word of God is so powerful to us that will prepare us for things that we have not yet even imagined that would happen to us.
Oh, yes.
He prepares us, and He has us ready, and is there to take care of us when we fall.
And He left us here for a reason. He wants us to be His light.
Right.
We need to be Jesus with skin on for people, and I think that's probably sometimes hard.
Yeah. It's such a pleasure to have you here today,
Thank
you. I'm enthralled by your story, and
well, it's His story.
It's His story. It is, and I realize that, and I get that from hearing you say it, and we just thank you for coming. We thank you for what you're doing for our Lord, and He's using you in a mighty and powerful way.
For Christ and His kingdom.
In His kingdom. Amen.
Thank you.
And we thank you very much for watching our program today, and hope you enjoyed hearing this story from Wanda.